We'll call the March 20th City Council meeting to order. Commissioner Smith, would you give us the prayer pledge and fact of the day, please, sir?
Assume the attitude of prayer. Our Father God, we come once again before your presence, humbly as we know how. Come to say thank you for all your many blessings bestowed upon us. We ask of the Father as we now partake of this meeting, Lord, you will replace hate with love, replace confusion with peace, and that you will lead and guide us, oh God, as you will only have us to do, that all that we shall say and do will be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. In thy Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fact of the day. On March 21st, 1965, 3,200 civil rights demonstrators in Alabama, led by Martin Luther King Jr., began a historic march from Selma to Montgomery, the state's capital, to raise awareness for African-American voting rights. Federalized Alabama National Guardsmen and FBI agents were on hand to provide safe passage for the march, which twice had been turned back by Alabama State Police at Selma's Edmund Pettus Bridge. Fact of the day.
All right. Anybody need any adjustments to the minutes? If not, look for a motion to approve.
Not that they have to be changed. I don't know if maybe it's just transcription issues, but when we were talking about that one, like the little piano key pieces of property, it got written as piano key individuals, as what I was saying. I don't know where that came from, but like little Scrivener things. But just for the record, I didn't say piano key individuals. It's piano key shaped pieces of property. But anyway, small.
So does that mean your motion to approve?
Sure.
Motion to
So
approve
moved.
by Commissioner Becker,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right. Blanche, presentation of local preference and minority and women-owned business enterprises, MWBE.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. The presentation before you tonight is a result of a resolution that was passed by the Apopka Chamber of Commerce. The board, the council requested that we go back and look at what some of the other agencies are doing and look at our policy as well. Y'all know I don't think, Rob, how do I get there?
Uh-oh.
Hi. Thank you. Okay. So again, we're going to talk about local preference in minority business enterprise and women business enterprise. And so local preference policies at first. In regards to the city, local preference policy is defined as a current active business with a business tax receipt within the Apopka jurisdiction. 1073.61 is related to bids and requests for quotes under $50,000. If everything is equal in regards to price, quality, and service, the local business will prevail. If it's over $50,000, that's when we apply the 3% for the lowest bid incentive. In regards to some of the local vendor data for the past, say, 5 years, we've had about 15 vendors. 27% of the contracts awarded were for local vendors. That's in yellow, that 27%. 73% of the contracts were outside of the city of Apopka. That's 11 vendors. But 40% of that 73%, we did have some local vendors that did submit. However, they were greater than that 3%. This chart before you details that out in regards to those 15 vendors. The ones highlighted in green are those contracts that we had some local vendors, but they did not get those awards because they did exceed the 3%. The lowest one is 8% to that threshold. The others ranging from 10% or higher, some even 49%, 18%, and 73%, as you can see. So other counties and municipalities, we did go and reached out to those and looked at their programs as well. And Orange County has a reciprocal program that they use. And the city of Orlando, GOA, and the state does not have a local preference program. However, Highland County does have a program, and it ranges from 2 to 5%. I'll go into the details of the programs as we continue. Oh, Lord. Need to go back. Give me a minute. Me and the PowerPoint don't like each other. Okay. Orange County's program. Orange County's program, again, is a reciprocal type program. They look at the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And if a bidder that is outside of Orange County has the lowest bid, they will give it to a bidder that's in Orange County with the next lowest bid. So the bidder that's outside still doesn't get it. It will still always have to be a business within Orange County and a principal place of business in Orange County. I don't know if it's me or this slide thing. We're not getting there. Okay, Highland County. Highland County, again, they have thresholds for formal quotes and sealed bids. Again, it ranges from 2 to 5%. It depends on what it is. And the lowest price must be offered by a vendor that's located outside of Highland County. And then the price that goes to the local vendor within the county at 5% if it's between that 7,500 and that 250 as noted for formal quotes or sealed bids. And as we're going down to other additional sealed bids, it's the same thing, but it's 4%, 3%, and 2%. Okay, in regards to the pros and cons for local preference, we do see some pros: improving and protecting the local economy by keeping the tax dollars spent on contracts in the local area, achieving established policy and goals to assist the local economy, retention, support, and education of the local businesses. Local businesses shall be defined as a business that has a main office within the corporate limits of Apopka, has a valid city business tax, and pays property taxes directly or indirectly to the city. In regards to the cons, it could be a potential increase in the cost of the local taxpayers and government to implement a program. It could also limit supplier competition outside the local area, which may limit equal opportunity. It may reduce the incentive for local businesses to provide the best value for the purchase of goods and services, and establishing and defining a fair process to define a local business to include geographic location requirements, management, and ownership control. And in addition, it could prolong and complicate the potential overwhelm the procurement administrative processes, staff, and operations. So in regards to the recommendations, the city currently has the 3% in place for local preference. What we'd like to do is over the next 12 months, continue to monitor the new contracts and local vendors and see if there's a change. But at this time, do not change it from 3% to 10%. And after 12 months, considering implementing the policy where the vendor must be within a certain percentage, perhaps 2 to 5% of the lowest price offered, and be based on a procurement threshold with similar structure as to Highland County, if the data supports doing so. Okay. Now I'm going to go into the, you want to stop here with questions or continue?
Yeah, any questions on that piece?
Okay.
Okay.
So the next topic is the minority women business enterprise policies. As a definition, minority women business enterprise is a for-profit enterprise, which is owned, controlled, and managed by minority or women groups or members. Looking at 51% ownership in order to establish that in any regard. There is a diversity certification that is required and can be issued by federal, state, or local levels. In regards to the city, of course, there's no language in our policy that pertains to that. However, in regards to some of our grant funds, the community CDBG grant, there is a resolution that was adopted, 2021-22, where again, those requirements apply to at least 51% of the one or more persons having ownership. And it had a goal of 2%. And the vendors associated with those programs where we've had those funds were MIE and Garcia. Garcia is doing Phase 1 sidewalk, and MIE was the Alonzo Williams Park Community Center. There are also, as it relates to the Minority Women Business Prize, goals and advantages. Examples of goals would be those percentages based on dollars. They could be monitored, again, by a separate department such as business development. An example of a goal is percentage of contract projects or percentage of goods contracts to be awarded. Some of the advantages and some of the programs that I'm going to share with you. Some people give advantages like additional percentage may be allocated to a vendor because of being a MWBE or additional points in the solicitation process. In regards to Orange County, they have 25%, 27%, 10%, and 24% as listed for construction, professional services, procurement of goods, and procurement of services. But they also can do a direct award for those solicitations under $100,000. And again, they do have a certification program, but they do accept certifications for the city of Orlando and the state of Florida. The city of Orlando is a little different. They have goals for MBE and goals for WBE. And their goals established based on a percentage, 18%, but it's based on their annual monetary contract value and subcontracts. And for WBE, that percentage is 6%. They also have advantages for each program as well. The city, they really have struggled, I guess, to achieve that goal. They say that if they don't meet that goal, they will allow an award to the lowest bidding minority enterprise in order to help meet that goal. That's one of the advantages of the program, and the same for the WBE program. In regards to GOA, for non-federally funded projects, 25% for MWBE, for construction projects, 17% for goods and services, and 17% for professional services. And one of their advantages is the special assistance that they offer to MWBEs. GOA also has a certification program, and they do accept certifications from Orange County and the state of Florida. In regards to the state, in accordance with section 287.0945, they have to establish goals, and that is established by the Office of Supplier Diversity, and they make recommendations to the legislature on revisions of the goals, and they're kind of updated at least once every 5 years. They have a certification program, and they do not accept forms from other entities or municipalities. They have advantages in regards to network and possible funding opportunities for MWBEs. Now, the Highland County program is similar to their local preference program in regards to the percentages still ranging from 2 to 5% for quotes and sealed bids, but it starts as an advantage, not as a goal. It's only if there is a lowest prices offered by a non-woman, and non-minority business enterprise that is located out the county when this applies. That's when it will apply. And Highland will take MWBE certifications from other entities and municipalities. Some of the pros and cons associated with the MWBE program is increase in good faith and outreach efforts to work with the MWBEs, additional support to the state in regards to their goals. We may increase contracts awarded to MWBE, may require a separate department to manage and implement, and require the MWBE to the city of Apopka, and it may increase growth, education, and job creation. In regards to the cons, establishing a realistic program goal that is based on a disparity study and community assessment, something like a feasibility study. There may be some unforeseen challenges in attaining those established goals. Several of the agencies I just mentioned, they do have struggles trying to, maintain those goals, but it can prolong, complicate, and potentially overwhelm the procurement administrative staff and current operations. And again, one of the cons may require a separate department. In regards to the recommendations, the city does not have a policy in place. At this time, we recommend that we do perform a disparity study, a community assessment, or a feasibility study to obtain the defendable data which is needed prior to implementing a new policy for this program. And if it's warranted, establish and implement an MWBE advantages are established and implement the goals based on the results of the study and the assessment.
All right. Any questions for Blanche?
I know that we spoke in depth about this, and first I want to say thank you because I thought this was important for us because now we have some data and we have some information and on how to go about it if we want to do this. Now, we did speak about a feasibility study,
Yes.
and so I just, I'm going to ask you to repeat, what would that cost the city to do that before we even considered doing, implementing a policy?
Exactly. We're still researching that. Now, in regards to the disparity study that I mentioned, that was a joint effort between Orange County, City of Orlando, GOA, Orange County Public Schools, and that was quite costly. It was about $900,000, but that was a disparity study. In regards to a feasibility study, we're looking to see if it's Kissimmee or Osceola County that actually had that study done, and we're trying to find out what they're paid. But at this time, we don't really know that cost. So we're still researching to get that cost.
Do we know any other city or that is trying to conduct a feasibility study for their city that we can kind of partner with?
Not at this time. We're calling around and asking about it, but not at this time. We don't. I don't think anyone is, because those programs are already in place. They probably go through a process where they're trying to redefine their goals as far as Orange County, City, and all of that. But the ones that are trying to do new programs, they want to understand what the impact would be. Are we, not supporting the local businesses like we should, or, things like that. So the only one that we know about that was more recent was either Kissimmee or Osceola County. And we're trying to get that information.
So I appreciate that we're going for the next 12 months or kind of a year, we're just going to kind of follow anytime we have a procurement out there to ensure that we are giving the opportunity to our local
Yes.
businesses to be able to bid and have the opportunity to be awarded a bid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I appreciate all the, especially where you said that it has to be a business, a physical business in the city.
Yes, that's the current definition.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank
Becker?
you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I know it wasn't on purpose, but there's no cons, right? I mean, there's no cons on this side of the equation in the sense that, obviously we want to incent local business. We want to incent
Yeah.
women and minority-owned businesses from doing work in the city of Apopka. So it's more considerations than cons, but I like how you laid it out. In terms of the disparity study and the community assessment, I'm not familiar with disparity study terms. So is it more about, because I like the idea, we want to set goals, right? We can't set a threshold because we can't force a different demographic or a local business to bid on the work that we're doing. So
Right.
it's kind of hard to set a threshold, but it's good to set a goal. So does a disparity study and community assessment help say we should have, I'm making numbers up here, but 25% of all of our capital improvements should be through this group. But setting a 25% threshold would say, but your business entity population within your city, only 10% meet that category. So is it to show that we're off in that sense? Just tell me what through that
We
disparity
want to make
study
sure
does.
that we're not negatively impacting local business, local minority business, putting them at a disadvantage by not having this program. And if
Got it.
we do, how can we implement the program again so that does work for them? In other words, maybe our goal won't be 5%, maybe it'll be 2%, maybe, determine how that goes because what's out there.
Right.
the businesses that are out there that could potentially bid on these contracts, and they are well equipped to do so.
And that's what I like about having stated goals, because like even in the CDBG,
Yes.
that acronym
Community
screws me
Development
up.
Block Grant.
But it shows, what are the composition of our own staff within the city of Apopka needs to look like from a minority perspective. And it allows the public and staff to say, okay, are we hitting the mark or not? Same thing with this, is putting goal thresholds to say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. It's a good commitment that we have. And then the community at large can then say, are we meeting that or not? So I
And you
think
see that
I'm
as
all-
low as 2%.
Right.
Right
So,
there.
and I'm always in favor of having things that allow us to be more accountable from
Yeah.
a binary perspective. So,
Understand.
but thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Smith?
Again, thanks for doing the work. And was it your recommendation that we follow Highlands County with the 2 to 5, or leave ours as is with the 3?
No, the 2 to 5, okay. Local preference, okay? So we want to look at everything over the next 12 months to see, how many other bids we get. Like I showed you the 6. And the lowest one that was close to the 3% was 8%. The other ones went as far as 73% out of the range. So as more local business come to our community, and they decide that they want to bid, we can see how that works out over the next 12 months. And then after that, depending on that data that we get, seeing that they're out, then come back and say, okay, maybe we should do something like Highland County, where it ranged from 2 to 5%.
All right.
Based on a certain threshold.
So would you be able to give us an update in 6 months as
Of
to what it
course.
looks like?
Of course.
All right. And then the other one, if you would continue to pursue to find out what that cost would be to do the feasibility study, then that would be welcomed.
No problem.
Commissioner Nesta?
No, I appreciate you putting this together and really kind of clearing and defining what this truly is meant to be. So thank you for that. No additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank
Mayor?
you, Blanche. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right.
All right. Okay, we've got 4 consent agenda items. Anybody need to pull any of those items?
We doing public comment first?
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. Yes. Susan?
Okay, Albert McKimmie?
Albert McKimmie, 3603 Golden Gem Road. Now that we have put the whole election thing to bed, it would be good to get back to business. First thing I'd like to mention tonight is Commissioner Nesta some months ago made a motion about a forensic audit. I would like to know where we are with regard to that forensic audit. Have we got any prices of what would that cost? Have we any idea of what it's going to detail? It's not about just about impropriety or potential impropriety. There's all sorts of things that I would like to know the answer to. I would like to know where we're losing money in terms of, like Fire Station 6, it wasn't built. My guess is we've lost $2 million in that. To me, that's something that the forensic audit can address. It's not only where we're putting money, it's how we can save losing money. Golden Gem Road. We spent a large amount of money on retention ponds in Golden Gem Road. My understanding is that we were going to get a return on investment from that by taking water from Altamont. That project was supposed to be completed well over a year ago. There's nothing being done there. The ponds are lying stagnant. There's a health hazard with mosquitoes. I've made 2 mentions to city council members in the past. Now I'm led to believe that the liners in the retention ponds have either been damaged or vandalized. I would like to know what the cost of replacing those liners are going to be and how long there's going to be a delay in getting those retention ponds operational and how much potential money we're losing in revenue by not having those ponds operational. Emails, commissioners. There's a number of people saying they're sending you emails and they've no idea whether you're receiving them or not. So perhaps we could look at some automated response so that at least people are aware that you have an email in your box. In terms of the forensic audit, it's also essential that we get information back, because there is currently an ethics complaint in progress against our mayor. And we feel that if we don't get the information at the time and things delayed for months and months and months, then we can't really address ethics problems. So we'd appreciate tonight if commissioners will address when and how far on the forensic audit is. Thank you.
Okay, Rod Olson?
Rod Olson, 3156 Rolling Hills Lane in Apopka. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks again for all you do. I know you have a tireless job and an endless schedule. Appreciate what you do. Coming into the meeting today, I ran into Mr. Michael Harrison to find out, after being here 8 years, Apopka has a radio station. 99.9 FM, didn't know. They feature, I stepped in for a couple of minutes and there was sort of Bible verses being read and so forth. And they pride themselves with multicultural gospel music. Had no idea just by bumping into Mr. Harrison in the parking lot. So thank you for that information. Moving along, sad to say, less than 13% of our taxpayers decided to vote. That's, to me, I'm sorry, it's criminal. It's inexplicable that people won't take the time. The best place we can have impact is locally. I want to thank Dale Richardson and Eric Mock for their time and efforts in running. Congratulations, Commissioner Nesta and Commissioner-elect Anderson for the win. And I want to take a couple minutes, and I know it's a couple meetings out, but Commissioner Becker, the time and effort you've put into this community, it has been an honor having you in that seat. Thank you so much for your service, sir. And for those that don't want to participate, I just have these words. If you choose not to participate, not to speak up, not to show up, smile, accept the outcome, and thank those that do. Thank you.
Okay. Leroy Bell?
Good evening. First of all, like Abby said, the election is behind us. Congratulations to re-election, Nick, and congratulations to Councilwoman-elect. We'd like to move on and talk about the audit also. We truly need the audit along with this charter review. We don't know where the charter review is at. We really need it because it was just stated that 13% of the electorate voted in Apopka. When you have a low percentage in the electorate, it's easy to manipulate the vote. If you remember, like I said, last election, the board itself voted for early voting from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. What happened? What changed? The whole council didn't vote. This is the reason that we need in our charter review baked in, because that's the document that we, the citizens, want to be the way that we want to be governed. You guys are to get and bring out the will of the people, not the will of one dictator and his friends. We'll leave that alone, and I want to go to the city works. For the last 6 or 7 months to a year, I've been talking to your public work manager. Not trying to brag or anything, but my home is priced at $445,000. And the driveway that you guys were talking about, the patchwork that you were doing in the road, my street have been out there for 7 years, and it looked like one of the dirt roads down on Stutzman. The trucks that run over the road in our communities contaminated with the sewage or whatever trash that you got inside of the truck. Someone need to come out and do something. I just spoke to him last meeting. He pointed out the man that was responsible, and he said that he would send the man down there. I just spoke to him earlier tonight, and he told me, he said, yeah, I talked to him, but I spoke with the gentleman. And the gentleman told me, he said, no, I ain't been out there in a while. This is what's wrong with Apopka. Apopka is not built on lies, they run on lies. Thank you.
Ace Woodham, Apopka, Florida. I'm very privileged to be standing up here tonight. I'm thankful that y'all are here listening. Want the voters of Apopka, if anyone's listening on YouTube or whatever, very disappointed in you. We've got to do something about our voting situation. 5,000 people, less than 5,000 people showed up to vote. That's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. But congratulations to all that were replaced and reappointed. The other thing is, I talked about last commission meeting, is the homeless. I went to a meeting last night at the Presbyterian Church. They got some excellent plans. Some good people, some ministers from different churches were there. And I was very impressed with one of the ministers stood up and asked the mayor when he decided to close the meeting about the $162,000 that was given to us by the federal government or the state of Florida to help the homeless. His response was, it's not my doing. It's up to the commissioners. Come talk to them. So let y'all four know that the man in the middle here is throwing everything on y'all's back in public, but taking all the attaboys from you when you deserve it. The man is not honest. It's been proven. And unfortunately now, I hope our new city council member will be her own self and not a follower of him. We have voted on y'all to lead, to protect, and to give us voice in this community. And when you fail to and go along with someone else's decisions just because it sounds good, it's hurting everyone else. Our community depends on y'all. No matter if he causes fake votes or what. We didn't consider that when we put y'all's name down on the ballot. Brian Nelson cannot be trusted. We got a mayor here he's so proud of himself. And unfortunately, I hate saying that, but it's true. We need y'all to please be honest in your decisions. Guide us, protect us. Give the citizens of Apopka what we deserve. That's honesty, transparency. Please be yourself. Don't be a shadow. We got enough of them.
Nikki McGuire, Naomi Kids Organization. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and everyone in the rightful place. This is all about our future leaders. Before you dismiss the information that I'm about to share, please remember every large organization or business started off small. Your support is what helped them to grow. Today, Today, I'm pleading to you on behalf of our future leaders. I only have 4 minutes so please replay the video on YouTube and pause at each slide to get the additional information. This year marks 10 years of Naomi Kids helping make a difference in the lives of our future leaders, focusing on ages up to 18. We are not babysitters, but a mentoring program that assists hunger relief, life skills such as money management, yes, from the age of 4, etiquette, academics, fun community events. We help from zero income to high income. Our doors are open to all families that are looking for a loving, safe, and unique environment without any form of discrimination. We provide internships for high schoolers as part of the Apopka Youth Work Programs and Career Source Central Florida. Our junior counselors are youths that have outgrown the program and refuse to leave us. They assist group leaders with supplies, group activities, and snack time. Any child up to age 18 can stop by during the summertime to have free breakfast and or lunch with us. Our pledge helps us be part of the solution as we focus on the Kaizen philosophy that means continuous improvements. A simple pledge that can be applied to any age group. I can control my actions and reactions. I cannot control other people's actions, but I can still control my reaction to others' actions. Our goals, in addition to our upcoming events, is to reopen our Kids Cafe, a free after-school program where we serve a hot meal, assisted kids with their homework, friendship building, and tutoring as needed. This program is temporarily closed due to transportation issues. We also want to help with the homeless issue affecting elementary and middle schoolers. Thank you to Sergeant Wiggins of Apopka PD for helping us secure bicycles and helmets that we will be giving away free on May 11th at Edwards Field next to Kitland Nelson Park. This is our annual family fun day, free admission and free parking. Come out and see if you can dunk either Chief McKinley from the police department or Chief Wylam from the fire department. A great opportunity to support local vendors and play in the free kids zone. Summer camp covers all-day activities, field trips, breakfast, lunch, and snacks, all for only $85 a week. I am so glad that you are as excited as I am. You and or your company can be added to our thank you list. Some names were left off due to limited space. We do not get any large grants, but we can do it better together. You can be a monthly committed donor with as little as $10 per month. Or put your loose change in a jar and we will pick up when filled. Sponsor a summer camp for kids for $85 per week or $765 in full for 10 weeks. That's 1 week free. Donate individually wrapped snacks or volunteer at our events. Please call us, text us, visit our website or Facebook page for more information. We are in 2024, so send us a drone message if you want to. I appreciate you all listening and welcome you in advance to our team.
Thank you.
Lexia Prehus.
I'm with Naomi Kids. I've been a Naomi Kid since.
Pull the mic out.
Oh,
There you go.
sorry. I've been with Naomi Kids since I was 4 years old. I have many amazing memories from when I was a kid. Being able to wake up and go somewhere where I could have fun and learn really excited me. I remember playing like Math Jeopardy and going on cool field trips like around Apopka, learning the history behind it. Another big part of Naomi Kids was making a lot of friends along the way and being welcomed every day, every morning with open arms.
Thank you.
I really enjoy summer camp because I had a great time. One thing that I loved was how nice they were and how they treated me. I learned new things like Miss Mika taught me standard algorithm, and we did art, reading, and science. My favorite part of summer camp was the activities they did. They did field trips. We did plays. Dance contest. We got to shop at the camp store. We had a family fun day. At the end of the summer, we had a celebration.
Thank you.
Miss Austin, Miss Nesta says hi, and she specifically said you were such a sweetheart in her class and sassy in the best ways, and that she misses you. Thank you for being here.
Jennifer Gardner.
Hi, good evening. We, sorry.
There you go.
Spring break. We have two children that went through Naomi Kids program. One of our sons who graduated from Apopka High last year is currently serving in the United States Marine Corps, and we have one that's still left in Apopka High that is doing dual enrollment as well as the engineer program. And as much as my husband and I would like to take credit for everything, we can't because we know it takes a village to raise children. And when Naomi Kids came to play with our children, Nikki was such a blessing because it was something positive. And as they got older and they exit the program, it's still a huge topic, even with our son being away. When he asks about home, Miss Nikki is and Naomi Kids is always on the mind. Even our son that's currently still in Apopka High School, he knew where we were coming today. And he always asks, how is she doing? And hopefully this summer he'll be able to volunteer with Nikki and the kids. And we just felt like it's such a positive impact that she has had and her staff with these young people because they have to have a place to go. And we were very fortunate and very blessed because she is our family, even as our children are aging. So thank you. Thank you.
Serenity Jordan. Oh, sure.
Good evening, everyone. Today I will tell you about Naomi Camp. So, basically, we always have fun. We go outside and we play with our friends, and I enjoy when we make games and play with everyone around us, and we go back inside and we do a game of charades, and we play different games inside to have fun. And Yeah, thank you.
Shakaria Church? Oh, okay,
That it?
that's it.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, we have 4 consent agenda items. Does anybody need to pull any of those? If not, look for a motion to approve the 4.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Just before they leave the room, I don't know when y'all are planning to leave, but it takes courage to come here in city council chambers and speak at the lectern. So thank you so much for the kids that were able to come up and speak. It's always good to hear about the positive, seeing it, living in reality of what the program that Nikki and Naomi's kids does. So thank you for speaking. And all I heard from you, Serenity, was fun. That's all I heard from you. Fun, fun, fun. So, right.
Okay, Radley Williams.
Bradley Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here tonight to recommend authorization and execution of a ground lease agreement with the Orange Audubon Society for property at Apopka Birding Park, which is at 2923 Lust Road, Apopka, Florida. A little bit about the property history. The St. John's River Water Management District conveyed the 69.5 acre property located at 2923 Lust Road, which was formerly known as Hickerson property, to the city of Apopka on October 23rd, 2018. At that time, a declaration of restrictive covenant was also placed on the property, stating the property was to be conveyed to the city for use as providing land to develop a nature-based recreation and education public use facilities. In return, the city of Apopka conveyed a 5-acre property at 2501 South Binion Road to St. John's River Water Management District on May 7th, 2019, which is where their new district office sits. Additionally, in November 2022, the city partnered with the Central Florida Expressway Authority and Blue Scope Properties to complete a property exchange agreement. This agreement gave the city an additional 10 acres piece of wetland that was undevelopable to add an additional buffer, natural buffer between the property at Lust Road and the potential development, industrial development. The Orange Audubon Society is a 57-year-old chapter of the National Audubon Society. It's the 3rd largest in the Southeast. They have over 2,000 member household volunteer organization, and they host many field trips and field classes throughout the year, conducting outreach activities and offering educational programming to K through 12 schools. And also, I do have Miss Deborah Green here from the Orange Audubon Society, who will speak here briefly. The city has a history with Orange Audubon Society. At the June 7th, 2017 council meeting, a memorandum of understanding was approved for the Orange Audubon Society to provide wildlife viewing and educational opportunities and land management assistance at the Lake Apopka North Shore. Additionally, another memorandum of understanding was approved at the July 27th, 22 council meeting, which laid out plans to negotiate a long-term lease, which is what we're here for tonight. The ground lease is a 30-year lease and includes some items that both the Orange Audubon Society and the city will partake in. In regards to the Orange Audubon Society, there's an existing structure on property. It was an old truck shop maintenance building. That building would be renovated into a nature-based education center by the Orange Audubon Society. They would also conduct some native plant installation and maintenance to rebuild the birding habitats on property. They'd provide payment of the utilities for the property and also provide education-based programming for our property down the street at Camp Weewa for the retreats and summer camp programming that we run there. This is a look at the building as it stands today. So it's definitely in need of some renovation and some work. The right-hand side is just a basic design sketch that the Orange Audubon Society has provided to kind of show that it can be made into a space that can provide nature and education learning opportunities. As part of this lease, the city will ensure that water is installed and either septic or sewer connections provided so that the building can be outfitted with restrooms. We're also looking at installing restrooms in the front parking lot area of the property. Upgrade perimeter fencing and gates to provide increased property security, as this property will now be developed into a center, a facility. We need to increase some of the fencing and gates on property, and then make sure the property is reconnected to electricity, which will then be taken over by Orange Audubon Society to pay. And just to kind of highlight, when you look at this, whoops, go back. I want to go down. All right, use the mouse. This property highlighted is the current location for the public parking spaces, which provides access to the Lake Apopka North Shore Drive, Wildlife Drive, for walking and biking. We'd like to keep that open as it currently stands. So we have provided some additional fencing currently along this area and down the drive here. We'll be looking at putting in a new gate structure at the very front of the parking lot so that we can operate, a dawn to dusk or sunrise to sunset type fashion on the parking area, and still provide that connection during the daytime hours for people to go park and walk when the drive's not open for vehicles. Correct. As I mentioned, I have Miss Deborah Green here, president of the Orange Audubon Society. She'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. Yes, if you'll leave that, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Mayor, Commissioners. On behalf of Orange Audubon, I appreciate the partnership with the city on this birding park. And Radley's been excellent to work with, and I'm looking forward to working with him as we develop the infrastructure here. Using that map, it was an old nursery site. When the district first bought it, I believe it was 1999, there was a fire immediately after, so all the greenhouses burned, but you still have the concrete pads, the bases of the greenhouses. And we will be picking some to leave for different purposes and taking up a lot of them. The invasive weed Kogan grass has proliferated out there, and one of the first things is to get a grip on that. And then we're going to get some professional help in designing a restoration with primarily, all native plants and a lot of native grasses. So it's going to look a little different than what you are familiar with on parks. But this is a birding park, and the plantings will be tailored for the birds. And as Radley said, that truck shop, it was deemed by the city building inspector as sturdy and needs a new roof and needs a tremendous amount of work. And we've been saving for many, many years, and so we have the money to start. And we'll start with the landscaping and then get into the building. But yes, we know we have a lot of challenges ahead, but we are eager to get to work. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay. Any questions for Radley or Deborah?
We currently do have bird watching, don't we? You have groups that you take out. Is this the area that you take them out to?
We don't really take them there specifically, a little bit, more and more, because there's just lots of upland birds. The whole wildlife drive is wetlands, and this is an upland area. So bird watchers on their own are walking around, especially in the winter, looking for sparrows and certain birds that need the trees and native grasses. So yes, we hope to do much more leading of bird walks there in the future.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Nope. Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to authorize the Apopka Birding Park ground lease with the Orange Audubon Society.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, and just on cue, we've got, she wanted to get a picture, so if we can come down and grab a picture with Deborah and Bradley, that'd be great.
Let me tell you, I'm stuck. Yeah, these are all my pens. They're not Costco specials.
All right.
Did you
Station Street Project Development Agreement. Jim Hitt.
Hi, Jim Hitt, Community Development Director and CRA Director. This is basically a repeat of the CRA presentation, but I'm going to go and read through the highlights of the development agreement itself, and Cliff Shepard, our attorney, will highlight those changes that we made to that development agreement also. I want to make sure he covered that portion himself. Again, this is the second portion of the development phase for the Station Street project that we've been working on for the last few years. This is a development agreement between the City of Apopka, the Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency, and Standard Investments and Holdings. Back on February 21st, 2024, basically about a month ago, the Apopka CRA and the City Council did approve the single proposal submitted by Standard Investments and Holdings LLC, which was presented, and then the approval was to go to negotiations and complete the development agreement to present to the City Council, which is why we are here tonight. So the development agreement itself is about 38 pages. It is a fairly long one, and it is very thorough. We found out there's a couple minor sections that were going to be corrected for the signature portion for the approval itself, but I wanted to go through the major sections of the agreement itself, just for clarification for the City Council and anybody that might be listening or is here tonight. So the total area, this is a overall draft plan of the area. The total area is 3.43 acres, which will be subdivided into two separate lots by way of the city's platting process. The first lot, which is Lot 1, will consist of approximately 2.43 acres. This Lot 1 will be conveyed to the city, by the city, to the developer to construct a maximum of 60 apartments and the associated residential parking. A public portion of the parking area will consist of no fewer than 30 parking spaces, and a portion of the extension of the Apopka Downtown Trail and an access drive. Where the pointer is. An access drive into the site itself. Bradley, you don't have the pointer, do you? Oh, never mind, I found it. Sorry, I apologize. So there's two buildings that are proposed. This is the access drive coming off of Central Avenue. This is also accessible by 4th Street coming around. This turns into a one-way access coming this way. And there's also a two-way access point coming off of Marvin C. Zanders Avenue. This is the parking lot area here. And then the trail right now is planned to be coming up on the north side of 5th Street. It'll be crossing right at the intersection here and then coming up to Station Street, and then it'll continue around the backside along the railroad tracks, back out to Station Street. It'll cross at Station Street, and then it continues down Station Street over to 6th Street, and then heads over to the city center itself. The second lot will consist of approximately 1 acre and will be retained by the city. The developer will construct a public plaza and a portion of the trail on that portion also. On page 5, the projected time frame is outlined on Exhibit H, and as I mentioned once before, it says, while both the city and the developer do intend to apply the best efforts to meet the project time frames, the time frames are non-binding and may be reasonably adjusted as needed administratively to account for delays beyond the control of either the city or the developer. This is in consideration for the brownfields, which is actually, it'll be actually underneath the plaza. We're looking to basically cap the brownfield area with cement at this area so that it basically cannot affect anybody at those locations. There are also utility access issues, construction timelines, and other items that may occur as the development progresses. Under the objectives, the primary first objective is that no later than July 15th, 2024, just a couple months away, the developer shall deliver to the city a completed design specifications for the public plaza and the downtown Apopka trail extensions to the city's satisfaction. At a minimum, the design specifications for the public plaza will include a public event and meeting space consisting of a pavilion, a plaza, lawn or artificial grass. Staff is recommending artificial grass to avoid any maintenance issues for having to mow and edge and weed whack and things like that. A food truck staging area along Central Ave, and the amenities as outlined in this exhibit. The plat itself, the developer will be preparing the legal descriptions for each of the lots, and the city will be processing the plat through the approvals of the Planning Commission and the City Council. This also allows for up to 180 days to process, but that should be less. Normally, the plats take about 3 months to process. That will define each of the areas and allow the developer to design the site in accordance with this general plan for where the buildings are, where the parking is, and then the different amenities for the plaza itself. The developer will also submit applications for the major development plan and the construction site plan process for review by the DRC, and the approval does go to Planning Commission and City Council for the major development plan. This will include all the major design components for the plaza and for the buildings and the parking lot, the landscaping, basically everything that you normally look at for those major development plans. All the main specifications will be there. Upon completion and approval of the construction site plan, the city will convey Lot 1 of the site to the developer. The developer will construct the public plaza on the Lot 2, along with the construction of the apartments and other improvements in Lot 1. Lot 1, again, is the apartment complex itself, and Lot 2 is the public plaza itself. Along with all those improvements, those are supposed to be all completed by January 15th, 2026, and prior to the issuance of the first CO of any unit within the apartment. So the goal is to get the public plaza done before or at the same time as one or both of the other buildings. The developer will complete the construction of the apartments within 3 years of the effective date of the agreement and is entitled to a 180-day extension if requested in writing. It does have to be requested prior to the completion of the 3-year time frame. The designs shall be in accordance with the Land Development Code, that's the design guidelines themselves, and sample elements as shown in Exhibit F, which is the building itself and the different components or different types of materials that would be utilized for that. The city will be vacating portions of West Station Street and West 5th Street and probably a portion of 4th Street for this development. Those vacates will be processed through the plat process itself, as I previously noted. The city will grant the developer recreation impact fee credits in the amount of a maximum of $50,000 as consideration towards the construction of the pavilion within Lot 2, which is the public plaza itself. This amount will be conveyed within 3 business days of obtaining the building permit for the improvements on Lot 2. Drainage easements for stormwater to Martin's Pond will also be utilized. This is the downtown area, and Martin's Pond over at the city center is the main stormwater retention area for the primary downtown area. The developer will be providing performance and maintenance bonds and letters of credit for the development itself. As I mentioned at the previous meeting in February, the density is capped at 60 units and is in accordance with the Live Local Act, which will allow up to 36 of those units to be affordable in conjunction with the Live Local Act. This is basically, those 36 units are capped at 120% of the AMI. So each apartment will also have an outside balcony, and interior washers and dryers and porches are would be considered optional on the first floors. That'll be up to the developers whether they want to provide patios on the patio first floor, porches on the first floor itself. Signage will also be in accordance with the Land Development Code, and the development is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. At the previous meeting, there were a few changes that were voted upon in regards to the development agreement itself. One of those, actually, I'm going to hand this over to Cliff. One of the primary ones that was discussed was under the default, putting in a reverter clause if this was not completed within the 3 years that, or a remedy was not done within 30 days of that. There is a reverter clause that the city attorney is working into the development agreement. What were the other?
The reverter clause is, just briefly, so I make it clear, unless I'm instructed otherwise, my understanding is if I get these things in there, acceptable to the developer and acceptable to me, because I understand what you guys want, that we don't have to bring it back here. So that's my understanding. If that changes, let me know. But it was a reverter clause in the deed and the DA. It's going to have to be subject to some provision that protects the lender, because once the lender makes a loan on the property, they want to be in first position, and I will make sure that that is okay, but it will be a constructed project, so that's the key. Also, approval of assignment to any other entity that's not a developer entity, a single purpose or special purpose entity controlled by the developer would require your approval. And then if on the public plaza contribution, our amount of contribution will not exceed 50,000 in fee credits. So that's from the prior to the CRA meeting.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Jim?
I just want a clarification here, and it's not specifically for Mr. Hitt, but Mr. Shepard. The default clause is not exclusive to the timeframes. It's any default within the contract, correct?
You mean in terms of whether there's a reverter?
Correct.
It will be that way, but it's going to have to be also taken account if there's already vertical construction on that parcel covered by a mortgage. So with that exception, yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anybody, any other questions? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Mark Wilkie, 609 East Pine Street, Bench Development. In regards to your question, you mentioned vertical construction. We start construction underground. So as soon as, I want to make sure that's clear. As soon as
covered by the mortgages was the key.
Yeah, as soon as construction starts, we have to be respectful of the lender's position, because this development agreement will become a document that's reviewed by the lender, and they're not going to be real anxious to lend on something that once they start lending money, they're not in first position. Next to property taxes, of course, because you all need to get paid. Thanks.
So Jim, the one thing I know you brought up at the CRA meeting, but if you just, for the public, the income level, what the 120% of approximately, I know you don't have it.
Yeah, the income level for the affordable housing is approximately $67,000 a year for
Single, right.
For a single, yes.
And it's
It ends up going up to about 110 if it's a dual occupancy for the income levels.
Okay.
And that's on maximum of about 36 units if there were 60 units,
Okay,
40%.
You want to make sure that everybody knows it. Right. It's
Yeah.
affordable it's still a
Correct.
much higher threshold.
Yeah, it's 40% of the units and then for 30 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to confirm to follow up, it's 36 income limited and the rest are all market rate?
They can be.
Okay. Or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody from public? Come on.
I'm not up here to speak for the fire department, but with a little experience in the back. Once again, I said this, but I just heard y'all say y'all going to be doing the park area first, if I'm not mistaken. This street ends up into Central. If you look, you've got your parking area. There it says food truck line up and all that. That Tower 1, Chief, I don't know if that unit can make that turn. And then you got two buildings that are 3 stories tall. That truck's going to have to make a right-hand turn in a tight area, a tight left-hand turn to get to the units. You're talking time. And on a 3rd-story fire, you don't have a whole bunch of time to get that truck in there. I'm just saying, I think you need to look at before you break ground and start doing the park area. You need to look at it from a standpoint for the first responders and the safety of the residents of them units that will be built there.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve the Station Street Project Development Agreement between the City of Apopka, the Apopka CRA, and the Standard Investment and Holding LLC.
With the changes as.
With the changes that have been, yes, agreed to.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance 3043.
Ordinance number 3043, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Michael Gentles, located at 1400 West Cully Park Road, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes?
No changes, Mayor.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 3043.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3044.
Ordinance number 3044, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T transitional to CC community commercial for certain real property generally located at 734 South Orange Blossom Trail. Servants of God Ministries, Inc., comprising .065 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 3044.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta, second
Second.
by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3045.
Ordinance number 3045, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T transitional to IL light industrial for certain real property generally located at 135 Hermit Smith Road, owned by Marilyn S. Brohan Trust comprising 7.23 acres more or less, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3045.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3046.
Ordinance number 3046, An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits, to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Investments Alliance LLC, located at 2518 Haas Road, comprising of 4.17 acres more or less, providing directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Any changes, Jim?
No changes.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3046.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3048.
Ordinance number 3048, an ordinance of the City Council of Apopka, Florida, amending Chapter 58, Solid Waste of the Apopka Code of Ordinances to reconcile the provisions of Chapter 58 related to private refuse collection services with any roll-off container solid waste collection service franchise agreement, to establish key requirements and essential clauses for entering non-exclusive franchise agreements for roll-off containers, solid waste collection services, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Any changes, Mr. Josh?
No, sir.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3048.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2024-06.
Resolution 2024-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, setting forth the city's intent to accept the findings presented by the Gehring Group, a risk strategies company, in their independent salary and benefits study, as provided in a workshop conducted prior to the adoption of this resolution, allowing the city administrator to work in conjunction with the Human Resources Director and the Finance Director for the implementation, providing for direction to the Human Resources Director and Finance Director to annually adjust the pay bands between the studies to allow for inflation, providing that a copy of this resolution and the study presented be incorporated into the city's official records, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Joe Patton.
So Joe Patton, Director of Human Resources. We did hold a workshop today from 4 to 6. It was a little short. I think everybody's questions were answered at that period. For the audience today, for the citizens that weren't at the workshop, just to give you a little background, we started this journey in August of last year, where we contracted Gehring Group to do a pension study, or not a pension study, sorry, a compensation and classification study, along with a study of our benefits to determine our marketability within the surrounding area. So,
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
It sounds like a mouse is squirring around over there. You're squeaking that pen. That's all I could hear. And I'm like, all right, thanks. Sorry.
I thought it was my shoe. Thank you, Chuck. So during this period, Gehring Group was contracted to look at all these different aspects in relation to the general employees, police. Fire was not included in this study due to labor relations. Labor relations is a separate negotiated type of endeavor, although I know that Commissioner Becker asked about this prior to, and I think Commissioner Nesta asked about it during the workshop, but it was not included in this study. However, I know that Gehring Group has done a lot of studies similar to this in the same areas. I don't know if they have the information, but with relation to our labor attorney, we were not able to discuss anything related to fire negotiations or fire pay. with that being said, I wanted to introduce you to John Muller, who headed up this endeavor with us, and to explain a little bit about or give a summary about the presentation that was done earlier today. And before that, I just wanted to say thank you to my staff who helped out a great deal in providing data, job descriptions, so on and so forth to Gearing Group. So they did a lot of work in the background. So without further ado, John.
Thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. Kind of as we discussed earlier in the workshop, we've spent the last several months working on this project for the city of Apopka. This was an independent study. These are our recommendations, our findings after going through this project. High-level summary began with input from staff, the employees of the city of Apopka, as to what they actually do day-to-day in their roles. From that, we reviewed job descriptions to ensure we were benchmarking the correct jobs. We then went out and benchmarked all of the city's jobs, over 180 of them, against those from 16 other neighboring communities. Based on those findings, we have developed new pay ranges and a pay plan. We have discussed those already with HR and the interim city administrator, as discussed earlier in the workshop. I believe you all have those in your packet as compared to the older pay plan. We've also run what's called compression, which is where we take a listing of all of the employees in the city currently, their current job titles, their years that they've been in that position, and their current pay, and we plug it into a worksheet that has formulas where we bring people that are below the new minimum salaries up to the minimum. We also do, as I said, what's called compression, which factors in how long somebody's been in that role and where their pay ought to be based on a sliding scale depending on how many years they've been in that job. Just see here real quick with the highlights. Here, as we talked about earlier, we had roughly 146 employees were below the new minimum. That total cost annualized to, in addition to the payroll for the city, is $725,617. There is an error here. We did not, after we rechecked the numbers, there are no employees above the new maximum. The compression cost, that cost associated with the employees that need to be adjusted within their new pay ranges based on length of time in that job, is $573,941. And I do want to point out that we had a slight error on the slide here. Looking at these new pay grades and adding in the cost of pay along with the city's benefit costs, so that is things like unemployment insurance, payroll taxes that are paid on behalf of the employer, as well as the city's pension contributions. That number is actually not 1.660371. It is 1,655,276. So it's actually $5,000 lower. In total,
Say that again.
the number is actually 1,655,276. So in total, 223 employees out of 386, I believe, that were included in the study are being impacted and will have an increase to their pay. Lastly, we will work with the city, if adopted, to finalize the compression workbook, assist with implementation of the pay increases effective, I believe, on the March 31st payroll. Additionally, at this time, we did look at the city's benefit plans, and after doing a really thorough review, comparing it against not just neighboring communities, but all of the groups that we work with throughout the state of Florida, there's really nothing that we would suggest in terms of increasing the city's benefit plans for the employees. Your benefits are incredibly rich already and really considered top of market. Thank you.
Just for the record, some people might not have watched the workshop. Can you
Sure.
just, the 16 municipalities that you were?
Oh, yeah. So let me see if I remember these off the top of my head. City of Orlando, Orange County Government, Osceola County Government, Seminole County Government, City of Winter Garden, City of Winter Park, Leesburg, Maitland, Ocoee, Oviedo, Lady Lake, Longwood, Osceola Sheriff, Orange County Sheriff for PD comparisons, Seminole County Sheriff. I think that's all of them.
Man, you did
I
pretty
got that
good.
off the top of my head, don't I, Mr. Mayor? That's pretty good.
Okay. All right. Any questions for John? All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Okay. If not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06.
I just want to make a quick comment overall is that really excited about this, and this is more a general comment, not specifically to you, but excited about this. It's going to cost us an additional $1.6 million, but it's well worth it to take care of our employees. They're hardworking, provide quality services, and we want to empower and retain them. You spoke about that during our previous workshop, is that it's all about retaining. It costs us much less to retain versus getting somebody new, and our fire department is no different. This sets quite the precedent for our expectations, how we take care of our employees, and I look forward to doing the same thing with our fire department. And again, it sets quite the expectation for our fire union moving forward in negotiations. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody from public? Okay. If not, close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, Resolution 2024-07.
Resolution 2024-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the budget for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, providing for a budget amendment.
Okay. Lance Sherman, Finance Director. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is Amendment 4 of our budget, Resolution 2024-07. We have 6 items included in this amendment. The first one is pertaining to that emergency designation that we brought to you last council meeting. We have some additional costs in the amount of $308,582, and that is also was in your consent agenda as well. The next item is funds from the Utility Impact Fund reserves, $1 million. That's for the Northwest Water Treatment Plant ground storage tank. Estimated cost of that project is about $4.6 million. We have about $3.6 million in the budget, so we want to add that additional $1 million coming out of those reserves. And another one related to the Utility Impact Fee Fund reserves is the Northwest Reclaimed Water Storage Pond project. The additional need on that project is about $3.2 million. We are reallocating some of the funds from our previous year budget that we hadn't rolled over just yet because we wanted to discuss the possible reallocation of those funds. And it's in the amount of about $2.9 million to help support that project, the Northwest Reclaimed Water Storage Pond project. The $180,000 in regards to the ad valorem taxes for the CRA budget, we talked about earlier under the CRA meeting. We do have some excess tax funds, and we want to allocate that to the skate park project and the $80,000 to the trail project. The coronavirus local funding project, that's a rollover duplication that I want to make a correction on, so I'm flipping it the other way. So it's to make sure we tie to the actual money. And the JAG grant revenue, that's a grant that we have, about $15,000. That is reserves. I apologize for that. That's not JAG grant, that was from the previous one. That is funds coming out of the general fund reserve for the MSBU. It's a loan to the MSBU for the Martin Place Pond Phase 1. And that is to remove some excess trees and clean up the property. And that's about $15,000. So in total, the budget amendment is $4,514,000, $995.
Any questions for Blanche?
Yes. So for the resolution we just passed in reference to the salary study, we don't need to include that in this amendment?
No, we did set aside funds within the budget already.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Blanche?
Just curious, I mean, because both the large appropriations that we're talking about here, it's staff's engineering estimates. So why would we move money right now before we get official official costs back?
Typically, you want to make sure you do have at least some funds within the budget. We don't really typically go out and solicit for projects that are not budgeted for at some level. So they wanted to make sure we can secure some of the funds. We don't know what it's going to actually come in at. That's just an engineering estimate. But we typically do have, try to fund, a reasonable amount for all of our projects.
So the one's already budgeted, the one for Northwest where we're scooping up money from other efforts, what are those ones that we're scooping it from?
You go into the details of the amendment. We're reallocating funds from the Plymouth Sorrento Road project, about $1,298,848.
But what is, I can see that in the thing, but what exactly is that?
Is the project deal. You're right. Go for it. You need this?
No. Some of those funding for last year was for, it was budget for us to put in some lines for if, I think there were a few projects that did not get off the ground. So what we did in order to accomplish this, because we have completed the design and we want this to move forward because of the construction costs, those projects was not, it was just projected to be done. So we had funding in those budgets, so we just reallocate them to get this one accomplished. So it was budgeted, but it was not completed. We didn't do the design, nor do we. So it was in the funding, so we just reallocated it to get this done.
But more specifically, what is the project?
I don't have it.
Wasn't that
it
that's
was
the
Effie Lane.
Poncan and Plymouth Sorrento?
No, I think, yeah, they are Plymouth.
A layperson like myself is going to look at this and say Plymouth Sorrento Road, Leicester Road to Poncan Road, and you're going to think it's some sort of road project versus
right.
You're
But
running what kind of lines?
Reclaim.
No, it's a reclaim line. It's a reclaim line, so we haven't done that. And then Kelly Park Road from Golden Gem at the Roanoke Road is another reclaim line that we have not done. And Effie Drive is a Kelly Park Road to Ondich Road. So those funding was reallocated in order to get this one accomplished.
And I know this is apples to oranges, but doing this and not doing those projects would put us at risk for having some other event that caused the Vic and Poncan situation to happen. There's not any, by taking money and not doing these projects, we're not compromising anything.
No, I think what happened here from my neck of the wood, these were long-term plans that was projected in the 10-year plans. So it was projected there. It was previously it was not started, right? It was in the 10-year plan. So we shift them 2 more years, right? So next year we are going to consider them to be designed. And just because we have accomplished this, the cost is escalating. So we thought it's the best not to complete this project in design, right? And just reallocate them to get this one accomplished. So this project will be accomplished, but they will be in future years.
So said more plainly, and maybe just a yes or no answer, but us clawing back money from A, B, and C projects listed there to fund this project is not going to put infrastructure at risk of fail.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dio or for Blanche? Not, open up public. Okay, come on now.
Thank you.
As I mentioned earlier on, Albert McKibbe, 360 Golden Gem Road. We're speaking about liners in the budget. Are we speaking about having money in the budget to repair the liners on the retention ponds in Golden Gem Road, which are inoperable just now because of the damaged liners? When are we going to be looking at that particular problem?
I'm probably a little lost on this, but 2 meetings ago, our city engineer said our infrastructures are falling apart, that we couldn't put the homeowners that live inside the city limits on the city sewer system, but we sold them $16,000 septic tanks. And now he's saying our infrastructure is good. We don't have to worry about this. Something ain't adding up, guys. Our infrastructure, sorry. Didn't we receive $2.9 million from the county for the Northwest treatment system? And where's that money? Did we or didn't we? We didn't. So the county lied to me. I'll get paperwork.
All right.
Any other questions?
Well, okay. Not, we look for a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06. Oh, excuse me, 07, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nesta,
Second.
second by Commissioner Velasquez. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blanche. All right, city council reports. Diane Velasquez.
Okay. First, I want to congratulate Nick Nestor on his reelection for 4 years, and Commissioner-elect Nadia Anderson, who will be joining us in, when is the swearing in? I've been asked. April 30th. Okay. So then she'll be joining us up here in the day, so welcome. Earlier this, I wanted to get to this. I had gotten a phone call regarding the workshop that was scheduled for the fire department. And there was some concern because of the last city council meeting. Supposedly one of the commissioners up here made a statement about, we were going to kind of negotiate in that process. So our attorney, Cliff Shepard, sent each of us separately an email. So I want to read that to assure our public who has some concern. So I just want to kind of read the first paragraph, but it is from our attorney, Clifford Shepard, and it concerns the upcoming listening session with the fire union. And it says, and it was addressed, Mayor and Council, but he sent it to each of us separately. Next week, you have a scheduled workshop with the city fire union regarding issues that are subject to collective bargaining. As the subject line of this email attempts to clarify, this cannot be a workshop in the traditional sense, as you will not be permitted to engage in any discussions with the union representatives that could characterize as negotiations. Doing so would violate longstanding rules regarding the proper conduct of collective bargaining sessions and must be avoided. The rest of the email just kind of touches on what we can and cannot do, but I just want to assure the public that this is a workshop where we're just going to kind of try and hear, I guess, both sides at this point, but we will not be negotiating. One side, I'm sorry, but we will not be negotiating on behalf of the city because that's up to the labor attorneys. Am I correct in saying that?
You are, and I have a sense that we may hear something about this from other commissioners.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to go ahead and clarify what I can now, and if I have to answer more, I will. And not only I want to explain that is the right path, but also the why part. In labor negotiations, there's a very strict set of rules that if you deviate from can result in unfair labor practice charges on either side. The union can be just as at fault as we would be if we engage in negotiation in a non-notice collective bargaining session without our management team. And our management team consists of Mr. Patton, the mayor, Mr. Vavrick, and I think Mr. Milam, our fire chief.
Mandel.
I'm sorry?
Mandel.
Well, the labor lawyer also, but I'm now talking about the management team. And the fire chief is on the management side of this equation. And so that's the negotiation team. And the reason that's important is because ultimately, as you've heard discussed here, if the impasse is declared, either because we decide to have everything decided by the council at a hearing where Mr. Mandel presents the management side, and the union presents their side, and all 20 whatever issues that are will be ultimately decided by this body, or whether through a formal mediation, conciliation process with an actual mediator, the issues get narrowed. At some point, either way, final decisions will rest here. And what the law prohibits is for you to wear two hats. You can't simultaneously be the negotiator who's in trying to negotiate the deal and also be the one who's making the final decision. Theory being that if you are already on the side of negotiation, you can't make an unbiased decision because you already advocated for a position. Now, I don't know whether that makes any sense to you all, but that's why the law is the way it is. I didn't write it. I just happen to know how it works. One of the questions that I anticipate, and even if it's not anticipated, I think it's fair game for me to anticipate and answer it, is why I didn't say anything at the last meeting when y'all were talking about going back and forth. As you know, I didn't participate in the shade meeting, and I never want to countermand the guy who's actually the labor lawyer, who's board certified and knows what he's doing, and I didn't know what he said. But I thought, okay, maybe there's something going on here I don't know. But literally the same night of that meeting, he called me and said he'd heard something about what happened online or something. I don't know, he listened to the tape or whatever he heard. And he said, are you going to be at the meeting? And you probably didn't know this, but I had no intention of being there because I assumed that would be a Mandel thing. But he said, no, I can't be there. You need to be there, and you cannot let them negotiate. You got to tell them. And so I said, okay, I'll make sure they understand that, because that was my understanding. So that's how we got here. Had I known what had happened, and maybe I should have sat in so I would have known, I could have kind of maybe righted the ship a little bit then, and I apologize for not knowing. But that is the reason. So you can question in terms of this particular point. Can you explain how it works? If it's regarding things like, I don't know the issues, but let's suppose it's sick leave or vacation time or personal leave time, or I've literally seen negotiations over whether firefighters can wash their cars in the parking lot. No joke. That's an actual collective bargaining issue I've been aware of in another fire department. So it's all kinds of issues can be on the table. And if you want clarification of what those would mean, you can ask for clarification. But importantly, you cannot ask questions in a way that sounds like a negotiation, like, here's a question. You really don't want that, do you? It's a question, but it's a negotiation. So the questions have to be to probe and understand what they want, but not to try to convince them that they're wrong for wanting it, if that makes any sense.
So yeah, I won't beat around the bush. I was pretty irritated when I got that email on Monday. Because, obviously I want to respect the whole shade meeting process and not go into particulars, but the whole point of how some of us got to a position of doing a workshop was the fact that, we understand the process that if this council would circumvent the magistrate process, which we could legally, if we make that determination and go straight to council being presented something, that's where we have to kind of treat it as a quasi-judicial, we're the judge. We're not sitting here negotiating. It's more we're making a decision about what's being presented in front of us. That option, I think, was not taken. Clearly, it wasn't taken the last meeting. But what the option was the workshop. And there was never at any point during that to say that we couldn't have back and forth conversations. It's why the minutes reflect Commissioner Nessa's. I think your comments reflected a little bit more eloquently, I guess, than mine did. But it was to that point to say, hey, there's 29 points of impasse. Can we have a good faith conversation back and forth here to say, hey, is it really 29? Not necessarily like hard negotiations, but hey, do you really want to put 29 in front of a magistrate, et cetera? And that's where we all thought we were locked. I'm not going to speak for other people. That's where I thought. And that's why I made the comments to the union representation that was here in these chambers. So if they're watching right now, on me, I've got egg on my face because I committed to something that apparently we're not legally able to do. And that's what got me irritated on Monday. And I can appreciate that Mr. Mandel thought that he articulated in a way that he thought he articulated, but he certainly did not, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, my concern about going to a workshop initially was, there's times where, and again, it's not an official decision, and there's times where the mayor may or may not respect the will of the council in a workshop environment And at the end of the day, it's his duty as chief executive officer to be that primary negotiating agent on behalf of the city. So my commitment to kind of go and acquiesce to a workshop mandate was to say, hey, the magistrate needs to know the will of this council. It needs to know the will of the mayor equally, so that all of the information can be used to make the best decision possible for our union representation. But to me now, this workshop scheduled for next week almost becomes very pointless, because if we're not able, because we're going to be walking on eggshells just to say, hey, was that construed as being a potential negotiation employee? Was that code speak for something? And it jeopardizes the whole process. But it's unfortunate, because I really wanted to have those discussions, because I respect the idea that individual commissioners cannot negotiate with individual members of the union. But at the same time, how do we get past this thing and get a contract? I know that people say that these things can last 2-3 years, but just because it does that other places doesn't mean that it has to here. I think it would be productive, but obviously I don't want to put legal jeopardy into things, but I would challenge whether or not the workshop is even relevant at this point.
Obviously, you all can decide, and if you decide to cancel it, we can certainly make sure that the union folks know. I'm confident that they and/or their legal team, if they didn't then, understand now the limitations on what you can do. And I don't think they would want you to violate those rules any more than they'd want to violate the rules, because it's a pain in the neck for everybody. But I would say to you, to the extent there's anything on that list of 29 points that you don't fully understand what it is they want or why they want it, then there may be something to be gained. My understanding, kind of high level, was that once you had a clear understanding of what they wanted, then you could go into a shade meeting and decide, okay, these are the only points we're concerned about. These are the ones we want to take back to a hearing where you present, they present, and we make a decision, and we can bypass the magistrate process on everything else. That was my understanding. But again, I wasn't back there, so I don't know what was said.
So I don't have an appetite to cancel next week. I think it's going to be valuable regardless. I think it's going to be impactful to have the union here to present their case. If we don't say a word, I think it's still impactful to hear their side of it and have them present it. Basically, it's how we form questions. Is I can get the answers I need that we're looking for if I ask the right questions in the right way.
And I'm going to be trying to play referee in that regard. And so I would tell you, kind of as a general rule, can you explain how that would work? Or, how is that, why is that an important part of what you're at? Things of those like how and why questions are okay, but more pointed, what we call leading questions like, do you really want that when we could do this? Probably not a good idea.
So if they said something like, we want $2, and I said, walk me through if it was $1.50.
No, that's
a negotiation.
I'm just asking.
That's negotiation.
All right, so I think it'll be, and I have a call with Attorney Mandel tomorrow to walk through this as well, to get a better understanding of where our boundaries are. Again, I think it's going to be very valuable, and I think we just need to understand specifically how we need to frame our questions. And I think we can get where we want to get still, just walking on eggshells, unfortunately, but I think we can still get there. It's up to the council if you want to cancel it. I definitely don't advocate for that. I think we can get to still where we need to get to, and again, I think it's going to be valuable to hear the union at that meeting.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to hear the input, and not necessarily that I have any questions, but it would give some clarity as to where the stance are, so we understand what it is that they're asking and why. And so I think it'd be a good listening session, fact gathering, to help us to go back into the shade meeting and then decide what we're going to do.
Okay. Mr. Becker, anything else? Or I thought that Commissioner Velasquez.
Well, that was very important, because we did get some correspondence. And of course, when I received our attorney's email, I felt like well, what can we do? And, okay, so we're going to stay with March 27th. We just have to kind of be careful what we ask. Okay. So, other than that, I just wanted to kind of mention, want to say thank you to our Commissioner Smith. Last month, he did mention the month of Women's Appreciation Month. And for this month of March, I would have liked to have seen a proclamation just to kind of honor the many women that we have working here in the city of Apopka, between first responders and a lot of our women that head a lot of our departments here. I was invited and I did attend the Women's History Breakfast over at the Orlando History Center. And one of the women that they were kind of honoring, there was a few women who they were honoring from the early 1900s. Their theme was Daring Women of the Skies. And one of the women, young women that they were honoring was our own Apopka artist, Delia Miller, who is at the currently working to gain her pilot license. So I was happy to attend that. I did attend with my husband, Ed. We did attend the Boy Scout Golden Eagle dinner where they honored our Vice Mayor, Kyle Becker. So, and that was, we had a good time with that. Also, that I have that. Miss Maribel, our president from the from the Apopka Historical Society, she really wanted us to mention to the public what they had done last month during the Black History Month, and that was the desk of the attorney, of the civil rights attorney, Ackerman Jr., that was donated to our museum by the family of, did I put this down? She really wanted that to be mentioned by Miss Kathleen and Jesse McGee. And that they had a ceremony where it was donated to the FMU Law School. And she just wanted for us to realize that this was a big historical moment. And we were sorry that we could not attend because we were having our charter meeting at that time. So just wanted to make mention of that, and she wanted us to make, to let our public know that our Apopka Museum was given such a grand gift, and they made the effort and they did the research, and they were able to donate that table to FMU. And other than that, I don't have anything else. So,
Mr. Becker?
No, I'd like to echo the thoughts. Congratulations to Commissioner-elect Anderson. Wish you good luck and success in the role over the next 4 years. Also, congratulations to Commissioner Nesta. I think the results speak to your methods and approach to the role over the last 2 years are something that are desired by our residents and to continue to take forward. You don't shy away from having hard conversations and be independent in your thinking, and that's very, very, very much appreciated. So, and I think the residents really saw that and spoke with their vote. And it's not a testament to say low turnout is a mandate to say your person didn't win or your person lost. It's more, it's really ridiculous. I mean, less than 13% of our population is voting. And we've talked during the charter reviews, and I think how that translates to the most pertinent changes is changing that date to November, where there's a whole bunch of turnout. And we all know why the turnout was low. You had presumptive candidates within the presidential primaries, and Orange County is a blue county, and yet the Republican to Democrat vote was probably almost 10-1. It seemed like, and you know why that is. And then you have MPAs again that see the primary title in that word, and it just discourages true turnout. And I know that this city can do better, and people can get out and vote, because again, there's so many opportunities to vote. Vote by mail. This was the first year I've ever voted by mail. And you request it one day, it's in your mailbox, and maybe the day or two later, it's pre-postage paid. You just do your vote, you sign your thing, and you send it back, and you can track it, and you can see that it's been counted. And there's just a better way to do it. But all that being said, I wish you good luck and continued success in the role. We already talked about the fire thing. The only other one that was mentioned, Mr. Woodham talked about it during public comment, was the homeless discussion. And I want to be very crystal clear because there was some posts yesterday or the day before talking about this meeting happening. And I reached out to Pastor, who was leading this, and we did get an email saying the commissioners are encouraged not to attend. So I think that becomes problematic in the sense that it creates this weird disjointed storytelling because, on one hand, residents naturally are going to come to this council and say, hey, what are you doing, council, about this? But yet the one group that seems to have at least some sort of congealed nature to it is telling us that we can't attend. And it's really under the guise of violating the Sunshine Law, which my interpretation, Mr. Sunshine himself over there can probably attest to it, but it's not in violation of the Sunshine Law. Now, it may be optically confusing and setting this up for, potential bad judge or bad optics, but all of us can be in a room at any given time. As long as, and one person could be talking about city business, but as long as we don't engage in a back and forth and have conversation about that said city business, we're not violating the Sunshine Law. And a lot of elected officials hide behind that because they don't want to have the interaction or they don't want to have full transparency into the process. We all know the Sunshine Law. We take the ethics class every year and we attest to it. We know what we can and cannot say. The example that I use is, like the state of the city. The mayor gets up and does the state of the city, talks about current business, talks about potential business. All the commissioners are invited to attend. They're there in the room. We're not violating Sunshine Law. The same thing is comparable to the group that's doing these homeless conversations. So, I thought it was kind of disingenuous to put that disclaimer or that thing in the invite because it just creates just this separation. And to the point, if that was said, if someone does question about the money that was previously earmarked for the Apopka Resource Center, and the reaction is, oh, you got to talk to the council. But if we're conveniently not in the room and not invited and discouraged from being a part of those conversations, it creates a weird thing. So I would encourage that whoever's doing that group, keep this council fully involved in the conversation. And I think part of it is, the conversations can get contentious at times, but it's just because people want to pressure test ideas and, is that piece of property best or is that piece of property the best? Does it take a full building? Who's going to staff it? All these things, if you're not prepared to defend why you have, then it can be perceived as contentious. But really, it's just asking questions to get the best outcome for the population that's being served. And I'll end my little soapbox statement here is, I was behind the van getting onto 451 the other day on my way to work. And again, it's Matthew's Hope. And the shuttle service on the back of it talks about servicing the city of Apopka already. And so there's already service being done in a very methodical and purposeful manner. So I don't know why we're not sitting here and having a conversation about routing monies into that organization if they can do the same type of service for the population at hand. Because like I said the last meeting, they do van pickup to take them to their site within Winter Garden where they can do further servicing. They already have transitional homes that can afford people the opportunity to graduate out of homelessness if they so desire. Plus, they have other job skill locations, the wood shop there that they can fabricate new and restore old that they then resell within their store to help sustain their mission. So, I just encourage everybody to keep the commissioners involved.
May I respond to that?
No.
Did you get the email that, because I wrote Clifford an email regarding that. Did you get a copy?
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it?
I got
Okay.
But I guess the long story short is, regardless of, if the mayor's on the board, if you're on the board, if somebody else is on the board, all of us can be in the same room together at any time. It's just, we can't have open dialogue back and forth. It's like the email thing, right? If someone accidentally sent a business-related email, if I sent that to the entire rest of the council and said, hey, I would love for this to happen, and it's a city business item. I didn't violate sunshine law, but this second someone replies back to it and says, I agree or I disagree, that's where we get in violation. So, I just don't want to ever to think that, we all can't be together. We can't. It's just we have to know our limitations, which I know that we all do because we've been through multiple ethics classes. Anyway, that's all.
Commissioner
Thank you
Smith?
for responding to that.
All right, I too, once again, want to congratulate Commissioner Nestor on being reelected and congratulate Commissioner-elect Anderson for being elected to the city council and look forward to your services here in the city. And I just have one question, I guess, is to Mr. Williams, I guess. At the last city council meeting, there was some conversation reference to the renovation that's taking place at the fire departments, and just want to know if you could give us an update as to where it stands.
Shocked me. Absolutely. Just a couple updates to get you all up to speed. The kitchen in Station 1, the stainless steel cabinets did come in actually pretty much that next week right after that council meeting. It did take longer for those to be produced than we had initially anticipated. Those are finishing up detailed touches with the contractor this week. And then we're also installing a new hood system for the grill in that kitchen. We are also in design process with an architect, contracted architect for renovations of Station 4, which is budgeted this year. We've had meetings with the fire department. They've gone really well. We actually had our last meeting last week with the architect again. We're getting pretty close to a final draft design of what that interior renovation will look like. And I know the fire department's on board with kind of where that's going to get that station up to the needs that they currently have. To get ahead of the game a little bit, or try and catch up a little bit, we also have the architect looking at Station 2 and 3 for interior renovation designs. The goal of that process is to assess what we have in the station, what the needs are, again, also similar to what we did at Station 4, get some plans laid down so that I can then bring this with the chief for budget season to kind of assess what those renovations might look like.
So the renovation for Station 4 is already in the budget?
The renovation, we do have funding for Station 4 renovations in the current budget. Okay. So that design, we're hoping to get finalized within the next 3-4 weeks. And at that point, I'll be getting with procurement and the finance department to determine our best path forward for getting those renovations completed.
All right. And then my last question in reference to the fire department is, I understand that there's a list of items that they've been promised that was going to take place, but there is no completion dates on that list of items. And so is it possible for us to go back and look at those lists and at least give some ideas to when those items and those things are going to take place?
Sure. Yeah. Now, we work closely with DC Maynard, who really runs that down for the fire department. Our facilities maintenance department works with them very closely. So we can get back with Maynard and see where we're at on his side with the list. And if there's anything that's been hanging there for a while, we can address that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Nesta?
Absolutely. Want to say congratulations to Commissioner-elect Anderson. Great job. Look forward to working with you up here. Thank you to Commissioner Velazquez and Commissioner Becker for your guys' support throughout my campaign. It was very impactful, and I won't forget it. I got a couple different things I'm going to bounce around to. Chuck, we had discussed, or I think I sent an email and I may have missed your response back, so please forgive me, about in reference to spraying for mosquitoes over on Golden Gem Road, things like that. Is there any plans to do that? Is there anything?
That's the county.
But it's our ponds, I guess, over, it's specifically in reference to our concerns with the ponds.
Oh.
I did talk to the water resource manager about it, and he was going to send somebody out there to spray that area.
Okay.
So I know that was taken care of when you did send that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. We just got an email today from Reimagine Communities about their student award ceremony. Hoping we can all kind of contribute in some way to make sure that's a success for them. In reference to the Chamber of Commerce, I know that Kate Manley has stepped down. I guess what's that process look like moving forward? Who's running it? I just need, I guess, education on what that looks like, of what the process moving forward.
I think it's Jean, what's her last name? What? Santiago, yes, Jean Santiago is I guess the interim. I don't know if they've even out on the market yet to try to find somebody to replace Kate. So I don't know where that sits. So I think it's kind of it's being run by committee right now.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Shepard, this one's for you. We had a lot of questions during this campaign about just legitimacy of documents, things like that. What I like that we're doing with the city charter is that we're very specifically putting in there that the city clerk is not there to legitimize one way or the other. They're just there to say, hey, we got it, and move on. What governing body should we point residents to instead of pointing them to our city clerk to get a comfort level that's overseeing legitimacy of documents, things like that? Or is there not one?
Well, I can tell you the answer, but it's going to sound unnecessarily smart alecky, and it's the mirror. Because a citizen who's concerned about an election violation is the reporting person, and they report it either to, if it amounts to election fraud, to the state, which happened in this case, but it's not election fraud, and or civil action. And that's also the candidate, the opposing candidate, if there's opposing candidate. Obviously, this can be a problem if, for example, someone were to run unopposed, but nevertheless, some of the same issues that were raised here were raised again. But there is not a solution short of what I'm telling you, because these matters, unless they raise to the level of election fraud, are not criminal. And that's really where the disconnect is. There is in certain charters, and I can't remember if this is in yours, a provision that says that the council is the final judge of the qualifications of a candidate to hold office here. And so there is the possibility, and maybe that's a parking lot issue either for this session or the next one, where y'all discuss either putting something in or tweaking it where there's a process by which if something is raised that's a legitimate question, that you could sit here, have hearings, and do the whole business. But I would caution that if it sounds burdensome, that's because it would be. And so in most instances, essentially, if the clerk obtains sufficient proof, as they did in this case, that the candidates before them are qualified, that is the job. And if it turns out that they were provided false information, the remedy is vote against the candidate. The remedy is take the candidate to court to prove that they don't qualify. And that's literally the remedy, because they aren't violations of the law that get you in trouble. They're violations of a charter that say whether you're qualified or not. And the worst thing that can happen to you is you get removed from the ballot. Nobody goes to jail unless it's election fraud. Now, election fraud is a whole different category. That's where it's been alleged in other elections, some more high profile than others, that people voted twice. People were providing false information. People were paying people to vote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that was going on here, but that's a different level of violation. And there are penalties that are criminal in nature and so forth and so on. Signing false affidavits, blah, blah, blah. But everything else, it's kind of the default position in the way not just the state operates, but our municipality operates, and most every other state operates, is the idea is to let candidates qualify and let the voters figure it out. We have a pretty high-profile national election going on right now that attests to that fact. That's the default position in the country.
Okay. I know we beat this horse dead many, many times, so I just wanted to clarify again. And I mean, it may be something worthwhile to talk about in the charter review just to explore some options there. So thank you for that. We had the Main Street Apopka meeting or Main Street meeting this morning, which I thought was very productive, valuable. The Main Street Apopka group, I think they've restructured and have an incredible team now that I'm really excited about, and hopefully we can get behind as a city, because I think it was very good, and they're going to do some great things for our downtown area. I was going to touch on the homeless meetings as well. I think there's value for all of us being in those meetings to understand exactly where we're going and how we can help. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we can all provide different value. So I do think I think we should be encouraged to attend, not attend. Want to discuss the forensic audit. It came up twice during public comment. My ask is that the commission let me present on the agenda next meeting of somewhere between 7 and 10 specific topics that are focus that I'd like to go over, and we can move forward from there, and you guys decide one way or the other if you have an appetite for it or not. So I know it's been asked that I narrow my scope, and I understand the value of doing that. So I will bring those 7 to 10 specific items, and then we can go from there, as long as this council will provide me that opportunity.
I would be in favor of it. Now, I don't know what your 7 or whatever are, but a couple of natural things for me is where our natural large pots of money are, our reserve accounts and things like that. I mean, case in point, at the budget workshops, when we've started one of the funds, it was, how much do we have in that enterprise reserve? And there was some confusion back and forth. And so, using that as kind of a jumping off point, I mean, stuff like that, that's how you kind of narrow your scope is, okay, where are my large concentrations of money? Where do large transactions flow in and out of? And that would be, I would be interested to see it if you have that in your presentation.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. I will do that. Then I want to discuss my final one too, is the Errol condo water issue that we kind of dealt with. We didn't receive that email, and the email from, I guess it was the mother of the owner of that, and that had a lot of pertinent details that I had asked and didn't get the information from, and so I felt that I voted without all the information, which...
Yeah, that's unfortunate because, and I'm not claiming bad intent here, but the fact is the email was addressed to the mayor and commissioners, but that was an email that was never received. So I don't know if she had addressed it to the other commissioners, but I feel bad because she addressed it in a manner that she thought that we saw that. And it was rich with a whole bunch of other additional details that we didn't have at our disposal during the meeting that we talked about that. So if she is watching this, or if she understands that, we didn't receive that email because it wasn't addressed to us.
Right.
Or emailed to our address.
I can't even remember how I got it. Did I get it direct? I don't even think I got it directly.
Somebody got it and it wasn't sent out, and I made
Yeah.
a decision based on lack of information or wrong information at the last meeting. So that was very frustrating for me, because it reflects on me. I have to stand behind my votes, and I didn't have the information that was accurate. So that was frustrating there. And just to put a final point on the forensic audit, Commissioner Velasquez, you're okay with me putting it on the agenda?
Oh, I am.
Okay. Commissioner Becker, you are?
Yes, sir.
Mayor?
Sure.
Smith? Commissioner Smith, thank you. Okay, excellent. Well, I appreciate it all, and that's it. Thank you.
All right. Chuck, anything? Nothing?
No, sir. I have something, because who doesn't like a long meeting better more than me? Southwick Commons, as you all know, I've sent a couple of emails to try to figure out if I could what the best way to proceed, whether to bring it forward as an agenda item and just have the public discussion, or whether to have a shade meeting. After still not being able to ascertain, and I'm not saying people didn't respond, it's just hard to figure out, based on some of the responses, which way to go. The safe approach is to call for a shade meeting, so that's what I'm doing. And if you agree, then we need to schedule that, and we'll do the notices and the whole thing. But that way, you can ask clearly your questions to the lawyers who are handling the case in a setting where you'll feel comfortable, or at least in theory, you'll feel comfortable. And then once those things are good, we can, depending on the circumstances, move right back into the public setting, as we all are required to do after shade meeting anyway, and vote then and there on whether we like or don't like the conciliation agreement or whatever they call it, and go from there. Or we can instruct the lawyer through the shade meeting to go back and keep negotiating on our behalf. So that's what I'm doing at this moment, is asking you to agree to a shade meeting. You don't have to, but if you do, we need to schedule the date.
And that's the HUD.
That's
Yes.
Is
Okay.
that the one with Southwick?
Well,
Yes.
there's two. There's
There's
HUD
the civil case and then there's the HUD
Southwick.
case.
Yeah, okay, so that's the HUD part of it.
Okay, the HUD part.
Okay, all right.
So are we going to decide on a shade meeting, a date for the shade meeting?
Yeah, I need y'all to do
Yeah,
that while I'm
because
here, because it has to all be done publicly.
Let's just do it at the next council meeting.
At
Or
the first hour, or do we want to come an hour early?
Come an hour. No, because
It
you
is-
have to start no, can we have the shade meeting after
was-
we start
Yeah.
open up for
Yeah,
the
because it
council
shouldn't,
meeting?
this shade meeting shouldn't last long.
That's fine, however you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to. I
yeah.
just need to know so we can put
Yeah,
another
just, we'll get it on the agenda we'll open up the meeting, go to shade meeting and come back and,
Okay,
yeah.
sounds like a
Okay.
plan.
But here's the dumb question, but there's actually, there's a proposal on the table.
There is.
Okay, development, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
And I must have thought that I replied to you in my sleep. I apologize.
okay.
I thought I did.
That it, Cliff? All right, thank you. All right, mayor's report. Yes, Commissioner Nesta and Commissioner-elect Anderson, glad to have you on board. We will, guess your first meeting will be in May, so. Couple of things here. On March 24th, the FOLA bike ride it's a great event. If you, Mr. Smith, you have to have two pedals though. It's hard to get 8 miles with just one pedal.
That depends on whether you're physically fit or not.
So anyway, the FOLA bike ride, it's money, they raise money for, which is Friends of Lake Apopka. They've got different, you can choose your length of ride. There's 8, 16, 32, and 40 mile. The 40 mile is completely around Lake Apopka. And if you're gonna do it, you don't want to be on a road bike. You want to be on a mountain bike or something with little fatter tires. But it's a fun time. I try to do it every year. I do the 8 mile just go from Magnolia Park to the pump house and back. But yeah, it's a good time.
What's the date again?
That's March 24th. Just go to the FOLA website to get the time. I think there are different times, whether you're doing the 40 mile or the ones from Magnolia Park. So just, go to that, and you have to pre-register, or they want you to pre-register if you can. Second thing is Easter Bunny is visiting Apopka. Come on out to Camp Weewa on March 30th from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Includes breakfast with the bunny, egg hunt, pictures with the bunny, plus other activities. Cost is $10. And then last but not least, kind of neat, our Christian Ministerial Alliance is trying to reach out to our community to, we have the prayer breakfast, which will be the first Thursday in May, but what they're starting this year, which I think is a great idea, is all the churches are coming together and they're going to have a Good Friday service, which will be obviously Friday, March 29th at 12 noon at the Calvary Church of the Nazarene, which is right across from Lovell Elementary at 750 Roger Williams Road. So that's Friday at noon, Calvary Church of the Nazarene. So if you'd like, it'd be a 45-minute service. And so if you would like to come to a Good Friday service, love to have you there. So with that,